Hello once again, and Tony here with a review of Gounod's Faust with Jacques Lacombe on the podium and starring Heidi Stober as Marguerite, which I saw at the Deutsche Oper Berlin. And this was also the same production I saw about 2 years ago, so let's cut to the chase of what I thought about the singers. Obviously, this was Heidi Stober's show to the point where I feel like this opera could have been called Marguerite. This was not only her first time that she sang this particular role, but this is definitely a role that seems to be quite challenging for her, but she seems to have overcome all the challenges and she did it with grace, beauty, and wonderful musicianship. I have mainly been familiar with Madame Stober through a lot of the roles she usually specializes in. Those delicious ingenue roles like Adina, Pamina, Nanetta, and even the likes of Micaela and Liu, which are essentially fuller lyric soprano roles. To see Madame Stober attempt Marguerite was a definite thrill. She not only knew how to get into the psyche of this character, but she embodied Marguerite. Her girlishness in the first few moments of the opera, all the way up to her questioning womanhood, where she feels that her feelings of Faust might end up feeling a little bit on the insecure side, to her point of madness in the second half of the opera, to just completely losing all sense of sanity at the end, to the point where she is finally redeemed. But in this production, she gets a lethal injection. I definitely bought every single moment Madame Stober was as Marguerite. She not only had great acting chops, really embodying Marguerite as a fully dimensional character, but she had the voice to back her up. And it grew in beauty and in elegance, and it just bloomed all throughout the theater. Her high notes were especially exciting. I really loved her ringing and silvery high C's and high B's, and she just let it out with such pure abandon. She was absolutely wonderful in this role, and I would also love to see her in roles like Lucia de la Mermur, Antonia from Le Comte of Man, and even to some extent Gilda from Rigoletto, Zerbinetta from Ariadne auf Naxos, Aminta from Die Schweigsame Frau, Melisande from Peleas et Melisande, and the two Juliets from Bellini's I Capuletti e Montecchi, and Gounod's Romeo et Juliette, and maybe even Amina from La Sonnambula. Maybe she might end up doing the likes of Constanze from Die Entführung aus dem Serail. These roles would definitely be a great fit for her, mostly thanks to her wonderful and absolutely excellent performance as Marguerite. She was the definite star in this role, and I appreciated every single moment she was on stage. She was a great singing actress, and she just bloomed all throughout the evening, and she continues to bloom not only as a singer, but a very great artist. Her Faust was the equally magnificent Abdella Lazri, and I felt like he was a lot more involved in this opera in comparison to his performance as Rodolfo from the Staatsoper im Schillertheater's production of La Bohème. Here, I felt like he was slightly more exuberant in this role, even though there were some moments of stolidness. But despite those minor setbacks, his voice continues to be in tip-top shape. His spinto tenor voice was really exciting to listen to, and he had the absolute virility and masculinity that makes a wonderful spinto tenor. I could definitely see him in other great roles like Pollione from Norma, Carlo from I Masnadieri, Ernani from Verdi's Ernani, and even that of Arvino from I Lombardi alla prima crociata, Jacopo Foscari from I Due Foscari, and even Eleazar from La Juive and Paul Dunanchet from Les Huguenots. This is a tenor who has a lot of great possibilities, and he just really sold it as Faust. One can sense the overall energy that he gives to his voice. It is exciting as it's always been, and he was a very committed musician. And his rendition of Salut de murs chaste et pur was really, really well done, even though I would have loved to have him sing the high C in diminuendo, much like how Giuseppe Di Stefano did. And even though I would have loved for him to do that, he still managed to sing everything with such pure abandon and exceptional musicianship. And his chemistry with Heidi Stober's Marguerite was really, really well done. Thomas Lehmann as Valentin was noble, charming, and exuded a great amount of masculinity. He continues to be an excellent baritone with a great future ahead of him. And I would really love to see him in a lot more leading man roles because that is basically the direction he is going. Yes, I have seen him perform in a lot of small roles to character roles, but I feel that the direction that he is going, singing all of these fine leading baritone roles, is definitely the place where he should end up because his voice has continued to grow and blossom in fullness, beauty, richness, and exuberance. He exudes confidence on stage, and you could definitely feel the pathos that he gives as Valentin. Not only did he embody this role with masculinity, but he also embodied him with sensitivity, charm, and he was just an excellent and exciting performer all throughout. This is a gentleman who has a bright future in all of these leading cavalier baritone roles, and I can't wait to see him in a lot of these roles to come as his career has continued to blossom and grow. And I really hope the best for him in future roles. Returning as Mephistopheles was the great Ildebrando d'Arcangelo, and he continues to make Mephistopheles a caddish, demonic, and really snarky and serpentine character. I am definitely in love with his renditions of Le Vaudor and Vous qui faites l'endormir, which he sang with irony, power, and a great sense of serpentine charm that he made Mephistopheles come to life. I love the way how he slinked around the stage like a panther ready to catch his prey. And every time he opens his mouth, it's a lion roaring to his audience saying, this is him on stage and he wants you to pay attention to him. And he managed to embody Mephistopheles with charm, irony, and he continues to be one of the greatest bass baritones I have ever heard. He was definitely a marvel singing Mephistopheles, and I could sense him singing roles like Filippo il Secondo, Massimiliano Moore from I Masnadieri, Worm from Luisa Miller, Sparfucile from Rigoletto. Yes, he did record Ferrando about 16 years ago with Roberto Alagna and Angela Gheorghiu as the Manrico and Leonora respectively. And I'm sure that he also made a great Ramfis, and I'm probably sure that he also sang Colline. And in general, I could definitely see him in a lot of these great Italian e basso cantante roles. And as I stated before, Signore d'Arcangelo continued to be a definite thrill as Mephistopheles. Irene Roberts gives Cybele his boyish charm, his vivacity, and his love for life. And this was a mezzo-soprano I have been following for quite some time, ever since I first heard her sing the role of, I think, Mercedes from Carmen, and one of her leading lady roles, or technically leading boy roles, was Urbain, the page from Les Huguenots, and even her interpretation of Hänsel from Humperdinck's Hänsel and Gretel. And what more can I say about Madame Roberts? She has a pliable, flexible voice, which makes her so ideal for a lot of these boyish characters, whether they be Cybele, Stefano, Hänsel, or even that of Cherubino. She is a definite pro at these type of roles. She makes Cybele so lively, so enthusiastic, and really, really charming. I especially love her renditions of Faites-lui mes aveux and even the little aria he sings to Marguerite that he will definitely be there to defend her. She was an absolute thrill as Diabel that she also stole the show. Returning as Dame Martha Schwertlein was the grand Veronica Miller. She continues to use her grand and powerful dramatic mezzo-contralto voice to the best of her abilities, and her stage presence continues to be as formidable, but at the same time peppers it with a lot of humor, making her character just a lot of fun to watch on stage. She was just a lot of fun as Madame Martha Schwertlein. She was humorous, she was charming, she was bubbly, but more than anything, her vocal resources were completely abundant. She used that round and rich mezzo-contralto voice to the best of her abilities, and she was just an awesome singer all throughout. And I also have to give loads of kudos to the gentleman who sang the tiny role of Wagner, Philipp Jekyll, for doing a very fine job even though this role was really, really small. So overall, what more can I say about the singing found in this production of Faust, starring Heidi Stober as Marguerite? It was exceptional, and the conducting done by Jacques Lacombe was really, really well done. He paid close attention to the text, and he made sure that all the singers, all the members of the chorus and orchestra went together. And of course, the chorus and orchestra of the Deutsche Oper Berlin were equally as wonderful. So overall, Heidi Stober definitely stole the show for me as Marguerite. This was the first few times she has sung a leading lady role, and she really sold it. She was a great actress. She was a wonderful singer, but more than anything, she was a complete artist. And I also have to give a lot of kudos to Abdella Lasri, Thomas Lehmann, Veronica Miller, Ildebrando D'Arcangelo, Irene Roberts, and Philipp Jekyll, and of course, the conductor, Jacques Lacombe, for doing exceptional jobs in everything they've done. Well, that's all for now. Be sure to tune in next week for another review. So until then, good night, everybody.